Long ago, the goddess of nature became furious with humanity's reckless destruction of the environment. As punishment, she unleashed mysterious dungeons across the world, declaring that failure to conquer them would lead to humanity's annihilation. Due to the sudden emergence of these dungeons, the concept of levels was introduced to tell how strong a person was. Our protagonist, Suzuki, was born with the lowest level ever. At school, some dude named Kai always made fun of him for having a 0 level and being the only F-rank idiot in history. It was really embarrassing for Suzuki, and he couldn't take it anymore. So, he moved to a new school, hoping things would get better. But that didn't work, as Kai followed him to the new school, like a clingy ex, and continued to make his life a living hell. Occasionally, a spaceship would soar through the sky, broadcasting the names of the best adventurers who did well in the dungeons that week. One day, while Suzuki was walking to class, he heard students talking excitedly. The strongest student ever, Hinata, who was an S-rank adventurer, was joining their school. Everyone simped over her because she was not only hot but really powerful as well. In class, Suzuki sat behind her but felt nervous because other boys shot him menacing jealous glares. Then the teacher asked everyone to introduce themselves. Hinata walked to the front of the class like a princess. She said her name was Kamui Hinata, with a cold, detached demeanor, no smiles, just an aura of chilling confidence, before returning to her seat. After school that day, Suzuki went to his new dorm, where he met a pretty chick named Kion. She was in charge of the dorm and gave him a rulebook to guide him. When Suzuki went to the cafeteria, he heard some students talking about forming a team of dungeon explorers. They all seemed excited. Then, a blonde girl noticed that Suzuki looked quiet and didn't seem excited at all. When she asked for his name, Suzuki told her who he was and said he was an F-rank adventurer. The girl was really surprised, and so was the ugly dude next to her. They said it was weird for someone with such a low rank to live in the dorm. The blonde girl then asked if Suzuki wore gloves to hide how low his level was, and Suzuki embarrassingly said yes. In this world, a person's rank showed how much potential they got. People got their rank at birth. The hierarchy ranged from S rank, the highest, to F rank, the lowest. Even though Suzuki was an F rank, the blonde girl told him not to give up. She said just because he had a low rank didn't mean he couldn't be great. Suzuki was shocked because no one had ever been that nice to him. She said that ranks were just labels, and that hard work could elevate his status. Suzuki had heard those kinds of words before, but this time, the way she said it made him reconsider his entire outlook to life. That night, in his room, Suzuki thought a lot about what the girl said. Then he got a message from his sister asking if he was okay at the new school. That made him think even more. One big reason he switched schools wasn't just to escape Kai's bullying, but also to secure a better life for his mother and sister. Suzuki believed that if he became a strong adventurer, he could earn enough cash to take care of them. At that moment, Suzuki made up his mind. He wasn't going to give up. Suzuki believed that if he kept fighting monsters in the dungeons, he could level up. He just needed to work hard and keep trying. So, early the next morning, Suzuki went to a beginner dungeon near his dorm. There, he saw Kion, the dorm supervisor, who told him to do his best but not to push himself too hard. Before he could go inside, he stopped by the front desk to get a license. The lady at the desk was a bit clumsy. She saw he was a new student and said she'd get the license for him. But then she forgot where she put the license box, so she ran off to find it. While she was gone, Suzuki noticed a transparent crystal on the desk, a tool used to evaluate an individual's potential. A change in the crystal's color indicated the person's rank. Curious to check his ranking after a long time, Suzuki placed his hand on the magical crystal. As expected, the crystal turned black, a color Suzuki was familiar with, which signified a complete lack of ability, a level 0. But then something started to happen. The crystal started pulling Suzuki in, and Suzuki couldn't stop it. Moments later, when the receptionist returned with the license, she found no trace of Suzuki at the desk. Meanwhile, Suzuki found himself inside the crystal, plummeting deeper and deeper, as if descending into an abyss. After falling at a dizzying speed, he finally landed on what seemed like solid ground. The place was so dark that he couldn't see anything at first. Gradually, his eyes adjusted, and he discerned the faint outline of a castle, leaving him to wonder where he was. Then, a spooky voice echoed around him. The voice declared that, due to the hardships Suzuki had endured, he had acquired a new skill, dungeon information. Suzuki was totally shocked. Before he could think about it, the voice said the skill had already activated and was now analyzing a dungeon called Lucifer's Fall. This caused Suzuki to question whether he was trapped in some kind of dungeon. Then the voice came back and said Suzuki had also earned another skill called Surrounding Exploration. Suddenly, Suzuki felt a super sharp pain in his head. It hurt so badly that he fell down, screaming. While he was in pain, the voice spoke once more, stating that, due to his hardships, he had acquired the skill, Resistance to Foreign Objects. At the same time, Suzuki felt like something invisible was squeezing his neck. He didn't know what was going on. The voice kept talking and said he also got the skill, Resistance to Abnormal States. Now, Suzuki was lying on the ground, not able to move or breathe well. Then, the voice announced all the new skills he got were starting to evolve. Suzuki suddenly found himself back in his room, lying on his bed. For a second, he thought maybe everything that had happened was just a dream. But when he shook his head, he woke up for real, and realized he was still trapped in the dungeon. His head throbbed with severe pain. However, he couldn't stop thinking about the cool skills the mysterious voice had announced he had acquired. After resting for a while and feeling a little stronger, Suzuki looked around. The place didn't seem safe, so he decided to keep moving and try to find an exit out of the dungeon. As he walked, Suzuki noticed that the air was thick with an extreme level of poisonous gas. It was really bad, but thankfully, because of his altered state immunity, Suzuki remained unaffected. The poison didn't hurt him. Even though the dungeon was dark, Suzuki could still barely see some stars and a faraway castle. Then the voice gave him night vision skills, and suddenly, Suzuki could see everything as if it were daytime. Soon, Suzuki stumbled upon a pond of water. Overjoyed at the sight, he felt a surge of hope, for despite possessing a skill to resist hunger, his throat was parched from thirst. Right away, he dipped his hand in, scooped some water, and took a big drink. But the horrible taste of the water nearly had him spilling his entire gut on the ground. Realizing it was poisonous, Suzuki immediately discarded the rest. Thankfully, once again, his altered state immunity saved him from the poison's effects, but he remained desperately dehydrated. As he ventured deeper into the forest, Suzuki grew increasingly frustrated. He just couldn't locate the exit. Yet, as he pressed even further into the dungeon, his skills alerted him to nearby danger. He quickly hid behind a giant rock. There, he froze in terror as a low-budget Godzilla lumbered past. Suzuki immediately clamped his hand over his mouth, desperate not to make a sound and alert the monster. Although it was his first time in a dungeon, he had always believed weaker monsters appeared first. With the sudden appearance of this dragon, however, he wondered whether it could be the floor boss or one of those rare, powerful monsters known as irregulars. Either way, Suzuki knew the best thing to do was run away. Just as he carefully took a step, the dragon saw him and started chasing him right away. Suzuki ran with all his might, but he was slow, and the dragon rapidly closed the distance. In that critical moment, the voice returned, announcing that due to the imminent danger, Suzuki had acquired a speed boost skill. And right after that, the skill instantly evolved into Speed Boost Medium, enabling Suzuki to sprint up the dungeon's walls like an alternate universe Spider-Man. The dragon looked surprised to see Suzuki running up the wall, but that didn't stop it. It kept coming after him, charging up the wall too. At that moment, the voice announced that the Speed Boost had evolved into Speed Boost High. Now, Suzuki was running even faster, like Usain Bolt after drinking a bunch of Red Bull. After covering more ground, the voice declared that the Speed Boost had evolved further into Boost Very High. Suzuki was now moving at Sonic-like speed, almost flying. Finally, Suzuki zoomed out into the forest. He thought he had escaped. But just when he was about to catch his breath, the dragon showed up again and cornered him. Suzuki was already exhausted from running too much and lacked the slightest energy to fight the dragon. Plus, he didn't even know how to fight at all. But still, Suzuki didn't want to die in the dungeon, so he decided to try and fight the dragon anyway. He hoped that if he did, maybe he would get a new skill. Just as he got ready to battle, the dragon let out a huge, scary roar. Suzuki got so scared he froze in place and almost dropped hot poop. Then the dragon jumped high into the air and came crashing down, trying to smash Suzuki into a pancake. Luckily, Suzuki rolled out of the way just in time. Evading such an attack took a heavy toll on Suzuki, and he began to pant like he had been chased by an truck Kund, his energy nearly depleted. It seemed as though he might collapse at any moment. Yet, at that critical juncture, the mysterious voice announced that Suzuki had acquired the skill Endurance due to the danger he was in. This newfound skill was precisely what Suzuki needed to survive the monstrous beast. Then Suzuki saw that the dragon had stopped attacking. It was just standing there, staring at him. That made Suzuki wonder what was going on. As he stepped back slowly, Suzuki almost tripped into a pond filled with poisonous water. It was at that moment that Suzuki figured that the dragon was probably scared of the toxic liquid. Suzuki, being a smart guy, capitalized on the dragon's weakness. He weaponized his hands with the poisonous water and began splashing it at the dragon. As the toxic liquid made contact, the dragon recoiled in agony. The beast screeched in intense pain, but Suzuki didn't stop. He kept throwing more and more of the water at the dragon like he was washing a car. When his hands were empty, Suzuki wasted no time scooping more poisonous water and continued to drench the dragon thoroughly. The dragon's skin burned from the acid, and eventually, the beast collapsed. To make sure the dragon was really dead, Suzuki threw even more poison on it. When it didn't move, he smiled, knowing he had won. Right after that, the mysterious voice came back and said Suzuki had gained a new skill called Monster Dissection. Happy with his new power, Suzuki used the skill right away. He carefully took off the dragon's skin, separated its bones, and laid everything out nice and neat. Suzuki was super excited to see how much stuff he had collected. Then he found something really cool, a magic stone. He knew this stone could be used to make energy or build magic weapons, so he decided to keep it and maybe sell it later for some cool cash. While looking at the big pile of dragon skin and bones, Suzuki began to wonder how he could possibly transport such a massive load out of the dungeon. He really wished he had a magic backpack or something. Just then, the voice spoke again. It said that because Suzuki had such a smart idea, he had gained a new skill called dimensional storage. This was the best thing ever. Now Suzuki could store all the dragon parts inside a magic space and take them out just by thinking. He could also put more stuff in whenever he wanted. It was perfect, exactly what he needed. Elated by his achievement, Suzuki wondered if he could also store the poisonous liquid to use as a weapon in the outside world. But he quickly decided not to and focused on trying to find a way out of the dungeon. As he searched for a way out of the dungeon, Suzuki reflected on the monstrous dragon he had defeated. Despite this huge win, Suzuki felt unfulfilled. To him, vanquishing such a formidable creature while remaining at level 0 seemed like an empty victory. After walking for a bit, Suzuki encountered some monster rabbits. The rabbits saw Suzuki and immediately charged toward him. At that moment, the voice granted Suzuki 2 skills to protect himself against the rabbits: trap detection and trap invalidation. As the monster rabbits jumped at him, Suzuki stepped to the side and dodged their attack. Suzuki noticed the rabbits were pretty slow compared to how fast he had become. Because of his new speed increment, Suzuki was able to protect himself from all the rabbits that tried to attack. Then, when Suzuki found a slight opening, he seized it. For the first time, Suzuki got ready to fight back. He made a fist and punched one rabbit right in the belly. More rabbits flew at him, but Suzuki kept fighting. After landing a bunch of good punches, he unlocked a new skill called bare hand strengthening from all the experience he gained. This was a big moment for Suzuki. It was exactly what he had been hoping for, the chance to get stronger by learning from fights. As a result of acquiring this new bare hand skill, Suzuki's martial arts skills also evolved. He even gained more awesome fighting moves that he never thought he could have. Even though Suzuki was happy to have these new powers, Suzuki knew he still needed more. If he didn't keep getting stronger, he would be a weak, useless teammate for any group. Suzuki didn't want to be a burden, so he made a promise to himself. He would acquire as many fighting skills as possible. He vividly recalled the words of the girl at the cafeteria. Hard work would always be rewarded, and Suzuki was prepared to embody those words. Following his remarkable victory over the rabbits, Suzuki stored the rabbit bones, meat, skin, and the magic stone he found into his dimensional store. Then, he continued his journey, searching for the dungeon's exit. Soon, after walking through the forest for a while, he saw a really bright light in the distance. To Suzuki, it looked like the dungeon's exit, so he ran toward it, excited. When he stepped into the light, he suddenly found himself standing right in front of the clumsy receptionist, who was lost in thought. She jumped in shock when she noticed him and asked angrily when he had come in without making a sound, so Suzuki quickly apologized. The receptionist then asked if he was the same student from the day before, and Suzuki realized something. He had been inside the dungeon for a whole day. The receptionist then asked if Suzuki had gotten his license to go into the dungeon, and Suzuki said no. So, the receptionist took out a strange black box and told Suzuki to put his hand inside. When he did, thick black smoke came out of the box. The receptionist looked surprised, but Suzuki calmly explained that this was normal for him. He had been level 0 since he was born. This shocked her even more. Shortly afterwards, a special symbol appeared on Suzuki's hand. He was overjoyed. He had finally become a real adventurer. He believed he could now defeat powerful monsters, gather small magic stones, and sell them for cash. With this, he could buy his mom and sister anything they desired. The receptionist smiled and congratulated him for becoming a full adventurer, and Suzuki thanked her. 1 week later, at school, the spaceship made an announcement. It said a new explorer had taken first place for the week, but the name was hidden for secret reasons. Suzuki stood on the balcony, looking up at the spaceship. He was amazed by this mystery explorer and wished that he could be on the rankings one day too. But what Suzuki didn't know was that this unknown explorer was actually him. No one in the world knew it yet, not even Suzuki himself. But because of his actions, the world had already started to change. How would Suzuki's newfound overpowered ability affect his life as an explorer and the world? Comment level 0 if you're eager to find out in our part 2. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. As always, thanks for watching.